Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. In today's video, I want to talk about a misconception that a lot of people seem to have when it comes to language learning. And unfortunately, this misconception can cause a lot of stress and anxiety when you're starting to learn a new language. So I wanted to make today's video to talk about this misconception, talk about 3 reasons why you might believe this misconception, and then I also want to talk about ways to change your mindset so you can truly enjoy the language learning process stress-free. Before I begin, I would like to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, LingoPie. LingoPie is a video-on-demand service similar to that of Netflix, but it has built-in features specifically for language learners. So, for example, while you're watching a show in the language you want to learn, you have access to an on-screen transcript of the dialogue that is happening in the show. And you can get instant translations of that dialogue by clicking on the subtitles, which is really helpful. There's also an option for dual subtitles, so you can have subtitles in both English and the language you're hoping to learn. Also, by clicking on specific words, you can create flashcards that you can review after watching the show. And once you've created a pile of flashcards, you can use it to quiz yourself later. You also have the ability to change the playback speed of the show, so if the characters are talking too fast, or you're just a beginner in the language, you can slow everything down to understand it. There's a link to LingoPie in the description of this video. If you guys want to check it out, there's a 7-day free trial. I myself have just started using LingoPie, and I'll talk more about my experience with it later in this video. But for now, I want to focus on the misconception in language learning. That is the idea that in order to learn a language past a certain age, you need to be either super smart or super talented. I have had so many students come up to me and say, "Oh, wow, it would be so cool to speak Spanish or speak English or learn a foreign language, but I just can't. You know, my brain doesn't work that way. I don't have the talent." And I think so many people believe that they are bad at language learning for 3 reasons. First, and I think this is a pretty common reason, I think a lot of people have had a bad experience with language learning in elementary and high school. You know, you have 6, 7, sometimes 8 years of a required foreign language. And at the end of those 8 years, nothing. You don't remember the grammar, you don't remember the vocabulary, you can barely remember how to say, "Hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well." And because of that, people seem to think that they lack the necessary talent in order to learn a foreign language. But the truth is, the problem is not you. The problem actually lies with most of the teaching methods in the schools. And I don't want to speak for all schools everywhere, but I know from my personal experience, when I was in primary school through high school, I had Spanish classes and German classes. I took 8 years of German. All I remember from those 8 years of German are 2 things. 1, I remember that my German professor used to write on the chalkboard with her eyes closed. I don't even remember her name. I don't remember her name, but I remember that. And then the second thing I remember is this. Ich bin, du bist, sie ist, wir sind, sie sind. Sehr gut, wunderbar. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a result of 8 years of German classes from 1st grade to 8th grade. And that's all I remember. I have absolutely no working knowledge of the German language. Now, some of you might say, "Oh yeah, well, you know, you didn't learn German clearly, but you learned Spanish. So you must have some sort of talent for languages." And that's true. I mean, I can communicate well enough in Spanish now, but when I was in primary school and middle school, my experience with Spanish class was the same as my experience with German class. Even in high school, I mean, I was very lucky, and I had an opportunity to study abroad in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia, for 3 months. And that did help cement a lot of Spanish in my brain. But once I came back and I was no longer immersed in the language, I was still taking classes in high school, but I lost a lot of my fluency. So if I based my skill in language learning off of my experiences in middle school, primary school, and high school, I would not have ever had the courage to relearn Spanish, to try and learn Portuguese, to try and learn Arabic, because I would have thought, oh wow, I just don't have the skill. So if you're hesitant to start a new language and you're telling yourself that you don't have the proper skill set or the proper talent because you couldn't learn a language in school, take that thought, pull it out of your brain, crumple it up, throw it away. The problem was not you. Problem was not you. It was the method, the language learning method that was taught by the school. And in the future, I want to make a video about what I think needs to be changed in the language learning curriculum, at least in the schools in the US. I don't know about the schools in other parts of the world, but that's a pretty big topic, so I'm going to save that for another video. For now, let me just say, you're not bad at language learning, even if you weren't successful at language learning in school. The second reason I think a lot of people believe they are bad at language learning is because of a little human habit called comparison. A while ago, I made a video where I tried to learn Portuguese in 28 days. And I studied my butt off for 28 days. I was Portuguese all day, every day. And I got pretty far. I was pretty proud of myself. You know, at the end of the video, I was able to have a semi-conversationally fluent conversation. Semi-conversationally fluent conversation. Wow, that's a mouthful right there. I was able to have a conversation with my friend from Brazil. But a lot of the comments on that video were very self-deprecating and negative. A lot of them were like, oh, you know, well, I've been trying to learn a language for years and she can learn it in 28 days? Wow, guess I didn't realize how stupid I was. And the problem with that line of thinking, is that language learning is not a linear progression. So in my case, for example, after those intense 28 days of learning Portuguese, I was still learning Portuguese a little bit, but I took my foot off the gas pedal. And because of that, I lost a lot of my rapid progression. I slowed down, and right now my Portuguese level is not where it was when I made that video. It's lower. And so language learning, at least in my experience, and from what I've heard from all of my multilingual friends, is that language learning is a valley and peak kind of journey. You know, one month you're really into it and you go all out and you make huge strides and you make a lot of progress. And then, you know, you lose interest for a little bit. And so you just take a step back. And then you get interested again and it's just that's normal, that kind of progression. And so if you are comparing your own personal language learning journey to someone else, and generally you're going to be comparing your valleys to their peaks, that's going to give you a completely skewed idea of your own ability to learn a language. Or don't let other people's journeys make you feel bad about your own progress, because I guarantee you that you are not seeing their valleys, at least not all of them. So just keep that in mind. And the third reason I think a lot of people believe they are not good at learning languages is simply because they don't enjoy the process. And it can be tricky, I'm not gonna lie, to find a useful, consistent method that you enjoy is very hard. So I'm gonna tell you some of the methods that I've used, but what works for me might not work for you. So the first method, I'm just gonna change my position here. Okay. Ahem. There we go, much better. So the first method that I used to learn Spanish was actually to start this YouTube channel. For me, practicing online, on YouTube, on TikTok, having live streams on Instagram, all of that helps me. And it makes me excited. and it gets me motivated to practice even more. But that method might not work for you. It doesn't work for a lot of people. So I'm going to tell you some other methods that I use that maybe you'll enjoy a little bit more. So the first thing that I really like to do is listen to podcasts. And I have different podcasts for different languages. So for Spanish, I listen to Coffee Break Spanish, which you can find on Spotify or Facebook. It's for free. The whole idea behind the podcast is that they're like 15-minute episodes that you can listen to while you're on a coffee break Spanish. And then the second Spanish podcast I like to use is called Cuentos de Hadas para Niños, which just means fairy tales for children. And it's just a podcast where a man with a really soothing voice reads fairy tales in Spanish. And the Portuguese podcasts I use are Tá Falado and Fala Gringo. Tá Falado is a podcast that is in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. It's so incredibly useful to anybody wishing to speak any of those three languages. And then Fala Gringo is for Portuguese speakers who are a little bit more advanced. I can't understand everything in that podcast, but I just like to listen to it sometimes to familiarize myself with the Portuguese accent. Another method, one that's pretty common and I'm sure you've heard before, is to watch shows in the language that you want to learn. And that brings me back to today's sponsor, LingoPie. So LingoPie reached out to me and they asked me if I'd be interested in doing a video. And so they gave me a free account. And let me just say that so far I am really enjoying it because I'll kind of show you. I binged watched this show called Letters to My Ex. And I'm starting this show right now called Overweight, or Gorda, as it is in Spanish. And these shows are both shows from Argentina. And I didn't realize that I liked the Argentinian accent so much. Sho. Something I really appreciate about LingoPie is that they have a lot of choices for the specific type of Spanish that you want to learn. So if you want to learn Argentinian Spanish, they have a wide variety of shows specifically from Argentina. If you want to learn Spain Spanish, they have shows from Spain. So far, I've only looked at the show options in Spanish, but they have choices for shows in Portuguese, German, Italian, Russian, and French. Go to the link in the description of this video. You get a 7-day free trial and 65% off a yearly subscription. But yeah, watching shows can be a great way to learn a language. And before I had LingoPie, I was using Netflix to watch shows, but I kept having to pause. If I wanted a translation, I would have to pause the show, open up Google Translate, type in the word, get the translation, go back to the show, and start it again. And that I'm a lazy show watcher. I like to just watch my shows and not have to work so much while I watch them. And LingoPie is really good at helping me be a little bit lazier. So if that sounds like a method that's good to you, I would recommend checking out LingoPie. Another method, if you're not really into all the screens and social media and everything like that, is to read a book. Read books in the target language that you want to learn, that you have already read in your own language. So for example, I've read Harry Potter 17 times. I know if anyone wants to challenge me to a Harry Potter trivia battle, I accept. Anyways, I digress. I actually found a typo. I found a typo in my Spanish translated version of Harry Potter. So in the English version, there's a line that says, Ron's robes were so short you could see his trainers. And trainers are shoes, right? But in the Spanish version, it says his robes were so short that you could see his pantalones del gimnasio, which are his gym shorts. So holy crap, his robes must have been like a shirt. Like everyone else is going to school in full-on black robes, and Ron just has like a black shirt and gym shorts. And I just thought that was really funny. And finally, this method is a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but try and find someone who's a native speaker in the language you hope to learn. Ask around. Does anyone know anyone from Brazil or from Portugal? And would they be interested in meeting me for coffee or talking with me? Or look online, you know? We have, for all of the negative things about social media, it has opened up a world of connection, a world of connection, and we can use it for good. Find whatever method works for you, and don't listen to anyone who tells you that you're not good at learning languages or you're not where you should be, because you are. You're right where you should be, and you've got this. So that's kind of the video for today. I hope that you guys have found it helpful. Again, thank you to LingoPie for sponsoring this video. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for helping me learn Spanish. Without this channel, I honestly don't think I would have been so passionate about learning Spanish. Even when I'm speaking English like I am right now, most of the comments are in Spanish. I love your Spanish comments. I appreciate the English ones too, but the Spanish ones, oh. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for liking. If you guys have any questions about language learning in general, the methods I use, anything like that, please ask in the comments below. I will respond. I'll try to respond. I can't make any promises, but I will try to respond, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Ciao, ciao. And the Portuguese is because they're not. Oh my God, I can't even speak anymore. Focus. I'm just gonna continue talking at the camera because that's how I make these videos. Because if I keep stopping and keep starting and keep re-editing it, I'm never gonna get this done. Okay, let's start.